We'll next learn how to intervene as a bystander. This lesson will address what is bystander intervention and how to intervene as a bystander. Bystander intervention is the act of intervening if you see or hear behaviors that promote domestic and sexual violence. You might be wondering, why does it matter that I learn how to intervene? Most people do not perpetrate domestic or sexual violence, and most people are not victimized by domestic or sexual violence. While this is true, it is likely you know or will know someone who is directly impacted by this issue. 1 in 5 women will be a victim of sexual assault in her lifetime, and 1 in 4 women will be a victim of domestic violence. The skills you learn here will empower you to help people in your community who you care about, and your actions can make a real difference. A recent survey of domestic violence and sexual assault victims showed that when supervisors and colleagues reach out, victims feel safer, more supported, validated, and less isolated. Let's learn the 5 steps to intervene. First, you notice an event. Second, you recognize action might need to be taken. Third, you decide to act. Fourth, you figure out how to safely intervene. And lastly, you take action. In step 1, you might recognize actions or patterns of behavior that indicate someone is perpetrating domestic or sexual violence, or that someone might be a victim of domestic or sexual violence. Next, you decide that action needs to be taken. One thing to consider: if you don't act, would the situation get worse? If the answer is yes, you decide to intervene. In step 3, you take responsibility to act. If you aren't sure whether you should take action, you might ask yourself, if this was a friend or family member, would I want someone to act on their behalf? If the answer is yes, then you should intervene. In step 4, you decide how to intervene safely. Some of the options include directly responding, using a distraction technique, or delegating for someone else to intervene. Let's review these 3 options in a little bit more detail. If you decide to directly intervene, you take responsibility and you confront the situation directly. If you decide to distract, you can use distraction to redirect the focus somewhere else. The last option is delegate. You ask someone else to intervene, be it the police, security, or someone else. Once you determine how to safely intervene, you then take action. You should be proud that you decided to act. We all have a role in ending domestic violence and sexual assault. There are a few things to keep in mind, however, after you take action. It is important to respect an individual's choices. Do not take it personally if someone responds differently than you anticipated. Domestic violence and sexual assault are crimes that take away an individual's power and control. It is important to give power back to survivors and to trust them to make the choice that is best and safest for them. Even if the outcome is not how you envisioned it, it does not mean you didn't have an impact. As one survivor reminds us, there may be barriers to leaving that you don't see, and the victim might be making plans to leave that you are not aware of. Next, we are going to learn how to practice these skills to prevent domestic violence and sexual assault.